They got 5 million houses. 5 million houses. Hello. Nathaniel Crawford here, Black Luxury Realty, your luxury real estate connection here in sunny South Florida. Today, I have some very interesting information I'd like to share with you. And normally I would have wanted to put together, excuse me, a little more properly edited video for this, to do some charts and graphs and edits and all that other stuff. But I'm not doing that because I want to just sort of walk through this information, because I think it's going to connect a couple dots for a lot of people who have been asking me questions about what's going on in the market. It's going to explain to you why, for the foreseeable future, luxury and investment buyers, especially in South Florida, are going to do very well, or relatively speaking, they're going to do very well, as well as the new and pre-construction stuff. And middle class buyers, low to middle class buyers, even some upper middle class buyers, will continue to struggle to find homes. So going to walk through some stuff and see if and connect the dots the way I connected them, and feel free to do with this information what you will. All of the articles that I reference as I'm talking, I will put in the description of this video. Unlike most of my videos, I have some articles I'm going to be reading clips from here today. So forgive me for reading, but I want to make sure that you guys get the actual word for word quotes from these articles, and then I can sort of add the commentary to give you a little more context. Okay. So before I read this, in the Miami Report video that I posted a few days ago, Craig Studnicki over at ISG referenced an article by our report from the National Association of Realtors that said we are roughly about 5.5 million homes short because of current housing demand. And even if all the builders were to start building right now, it would take about 10 years to absorb that inventory for us to get caught up. So we'd be at a more balanced home buyers to available inventory ratio. So that shortage in part is what is driving up real estate prices, because supply and demand. There's a lot of demand, not enough supply, roughly about 5.5 million homes short in supply. And that disparity is what has been pushing prices up. That, in my opinion, combined with the fact that the vast majority of developers are building either luxury inventory or luxury rental inventory, neither of which help the middle market, but are very, very advantageous to the luxury market. And of course, in most cases, they're very, very profitable. So just sort of noodling on that number, right? I've been thinking through 5.5 million houses, man. That's a lot. And that explains why here in South Florida, the luxury market is doing so well, and the middle market is the inventory is so low and prices are continuing to rise, and just sort of thinking through that. And then I read another article. I'm going to tell you about that article in a minute. But first, I want to share with you the quote from the article that Craig referenced. The title of that article is "Once in a Generation Response Needed to Address Housing Supply Crisis." This article appeared on the National Association of Realtors website. You can see the link below. I'm going to share a quick blurb from it. Growth in America's housing inventory has slowed significantly since the turn of the century, particularly over the past decade. This trend affects every region of the country. I'm gonna say that again. This trend affects every region of the country, creating what the National Association of Realtors report calls an underbuilding gap of 5.5 to 6.8 million housing units. 5.5 to 6.8 million housing units. Now that means that the estimate that Craig shared with us on the wonderful Miami report was actually a pretty conservative estimate, because it could be closer to the 6.8 mark and not the 5.5 mark. So think about that. That means that there are 5 million people right now who need houses, are actively looking for homes all over the country, can't find them. And when the homes do come available in those markets, they're being outbid in most cases by investors or large institutional funds or second home buyers, right? So we're thinking through, well, where is this? And so I've been just sort of thinking about that and talking to my clients about it, because I have clients that are actively buying luxury real estate here, second homes, investment homes, Airbnb investment properties, large institutions that are looking to buy apartment buildings. And so thinking about that, and I came across another article that I believe gave me a little more clarity on that. This article is titled Over 5 Million Semi-Vacant Single-Family Homes in America Being Used Exclusively for Short-Term Rentals or Vacation Homes. I'm going to say that again, just in case you missed it. Over 5 million semi-vacant single-family homes in America being used exclusively for short-term rentals or vacation homes. See the correlation there? So you can make the case, which I believe is partly the case, may not be the whole case. You can make the case that the inventory issue is partly being created by investors, by short-term rental investors, by people who are buying homes, using them part of the year, renting them when they're not using them on short-term rental platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, stuff like that. So what does that mean when we talk about this 5 million? So if these 5 million homes should be in the pool, in the buyer pool, but they're not in the buyer pool because people have taken them off to put them in short-term rentals, that means these people there are people in markets that would have bought homes that can't be bought because they're being used as Airbnbs. So as we sort of turn the corner, which is what a lot of analysts are saying is going to happen in some late Q1 into Q2, interest rates come down a little bit, more people are going to come into the market, which will still continue to push up prices because there'll be a tremendous amount of demand there. One of the other things that's happening in several markets that we've seen, especially in markets like New York and Atlanta, some markets in Texas and California, is there's becoming a very strong pushback against Airbnb rentals, right? So, but before I get into that, I'm going to read a blurb here before I go back into another blurb. One of the opening paragraph says, a recent study by LendingTree. So this is a different study. This isn't the National Association of Realtors study. This is another organization doing the study. A recent study by LendingTree found that America's largest metropolitan areas have a combined 5.5 million vacant homes. Many of these homes are being held as dual-use properties by investors who are renting them out as short-term rentals for part of the year and using them as vacation homes for the rest of the year. If you've got capital and the credit, that's great news for you. However, it's putting a major squeeze on what is an already tight market for people looking to rent or purchase single-family homes. So if you're a second home buyer, if you're a luxury home buyer, this is great news for you. There's inventory there for you to come make it happen. If you're a first-time home buyer or you're looking to rent, this is not so good. because the markups, the returns on short-term rentals are far better than annual rentals. So that's putting upward pressure on those annual rentals. What I do believe is going to start to, it's going to be interesting to see this play out, is as these regulations in all these other markets start to push, because there are some markets where it's sort of fragmented, but they still have very strong short-term rental market, such as downtown Miami. There are several buildings that are very, very short-term rental friendly. The first building in the world that Airbnb is actually a partner in is in downtown Miami. So in those markets, I don't think we're going to see very much inventory come in as a result of regulation. But in places like Atlanta or DC or I can't remember the city in Austin maybe, and definitely Los Angeles, I think we're going to see much more pushback on that, and that may cause some additional inventory to be available. So the U.S. Federal Reserve in St. Louis reports that the average home in America is $435,000, while in metro areas like San Diego and Los Angeles, the average price is closer to $1 million. When tens of thousands of homes in major markets are pulled out of circulation and left vacant, it shrinks the available inventory and puts more upward pressure on prices. Right. So that says exactly what I was saying to you. The net effect from these homes not being on the market is higher prices. But contrary to what we thought, or what I thought when I heard the National Association of Realtors report, I thought the big problem was that the inventory hadn't been built. Right? They sort of made it seem like developers had pulled back so far that there was just this huge chasm between what was needed for supply and what was actually there. This report means that might not be as much the case as we thought. Developers, we might be a little short, but a lot of that inventory that would have been occupied by owner occupants or by renters who would then become eventual first-time home buyers, that inventory didn't not get built. It got built, but then it got bought by investors. And that became the challenge. Now, to see how that plays out in markets that are not short-term rental friendly versus markets that are more agreeable to short-term rentals is going to be something very, very interesting. So one of the other distinctions they make here is they sort of say, vacant is used very loosely when you hear it in the media. When most people think of vacant property, they think of a place where no one lives. However, the real estate market's definition of vacancy includes any of the following properties: vacation homes, investment homes, short-term rentals, foreclosures, and empty houses listed for sale. But did you hear those first three? Vacation homes, investment properties, short-term rentals. It doesn't take a genius to see that all the vacancies are not created equally. Theoretically, the 600,000 vacant homes in Miami, Tampa, and New Orleans should be available for rent or purchase. However, they're not, because many are being used as short-term rentals, vacation homes, and investment properties the owner is looking to flip. So, given that information, what do we think is going to happen? Well, for the foreseeable future, I believe that there are going to be a lot of opportunities for luxury investors, pre-construction buyers, and second home buyers. Those in that luxury space that are in investment property, rental property, even if you're buying a short-term rental. Here in South Florida, if you're looking at pre-construction condos for short-term rentals, I think there's going to be continue to be a lot of opportunity, especially in the short-term rental friendly market. That also means that middle market, first-time home buyers, middle-class buyers will probably continue to struggle for the foreseeable future. The asterisk I would put on that is there has been legislation passed that should be floating some some grants, tax incentives, and some other things to developers to incentivize them to build or convert more offices to residential. I also think that we're going to start to see more apartment to condo conversions. So from developers, while the vast majority of developers are definitely interested in the residuals from apartment and the securitization and selling off to REITs or whatever pension funds, I do think we're going to see more appetite in certain markets where the conditions are right for that we'll start to see more conversions, because those conversions can offset the need for standing inventory. And say if you're looking at a market like downtown Miami, where there's no or very little standing condo inventory, whether it's for short-term rental or just for owner occupants, there's just not a lot of standing inventory there. There's a lot of pre-construction inventory. There's a lot of pre-construction inventory that's actually coming out of the ground. There's other pre-construction inventory that will probably start coming out of the ground in Q1, as Craig alluded to in the Miami Report video. But that pre-construction inventory doesn't help people who are looking for places right now. However, if you take an existing apartment building and convert that to condos, that does, to a degree, address the standing inventory issue. And that may very well be what puts a little bit of ease on some of that, at least in the condo space. As far as single family residential, I don't know that there's an easy answer to that. I think there's some very positive construction innovations that are coming that will allow developers to build single family inventory faster. That's little consolation to someone who's looking for a house today. But in the single family market, I don't know. I don't think there's a easy fix to that, other than the legislation passing that sort of puts a flood of single family homes that were formerly short-term rentals into the market. And that could happen. It could happen. I don't think it's going to happen in South Florida. It may happen in places like Atlanta and some of the other places that are getting a lot of pushback from short-term rental activists and people who are seeing the negative effects of short-term rentals coming into communities. And in those places, we may see a little more inventory that comes in, and that may put a little less pressure, a little less upward pressure on prices that are rising. So in those places, we may see a little bit better affordability with a little more inventory, but that remains to be seen. And I will definitely keep you guys posted, because this is something that was very peculiar to me. When I saw the report about the inventory, the first thing that jumped out to me, of course, was the 5 million homes that are investment properties, 5 million home shortage. There's something there. So definitely wanted to pass that on to you. And I would love to sort of talk to you. If you have any questions, comment below, send me a direct message, schedule some time to hop on my calendar. Let's talk through it. If you are an investor looking for opportunities, I'm happy to help. If you're a first-time home buyer looking for opportunities, I'm happy to talk you through it and see if we can make something happen for you. The market is changing for some of people. There's some winners, some losers, but the market is changing, and there are always opportunities. And it is my job to help you achieve your real estate goals and find those opportunities wherever they are. My name is Nathaniel Crawford. Let's talk soon.